readers, welcome back to the LA Reads podcast. We're your hosts, Abby.
Sorry, I was not paying attention because I was trying to turn my mic. I glitched there for a second. My name's Leighton. You guys know that at this point.
We know that.
Anyways, this is episode 12, and we're going to be
It's definitely not episode 12.
It's episode 13, and we're going to be talking about Powerful. Oh
We're doing so good today.
That's just so fitting.
There's something that you guys should know is that today is the 18th of May. We are filming 2 episodes today because I'm going to be out of town next week. So this is our first of 2 episodes today. We'll see how this goes for us.
Yeah, this is literally episode 1, second, 26th, and I'm already having a hard time.
Yeah, so we're going to see. But like Leighton said, today we are going to be discussing Powerful, which is the newest novella from the Powerless series by Lauren Roberts. We just thought it'd be fun to discuss some of our thoughts from the novella. It's short and small, so we don't think it'll be too taxing. But
yeah, or too long, except I know for both of us, this was one of our most anticipated reads for the year because we both really enjoyed Powerless.
Who freaking knew that a novella would be on my, anticipated reads list?
And I'm an avid, novella hater. I usually don't read the novellas.
I'm not a huge fan. The Shatter Me series has a ton of novellas, too. The only reason why I like those is because they're in some of them are in Kenji's perspective. But, other than that, I'm like, why does this exist?
Yeah.
But hers, yeah. We have thoughts.
For example, I read A Court of Frost and Starlight for the very first time for our episode that we did just, 3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Or whatever. Even though I had read ACOTAR minus A Court of Frost and Starlight probably 4 times.
I totally forgot that. I keep forgetting that Frost and Starlight is technically a novella. I mean, I know it's short, but I just am everything that she writes is important. So I just read it no matter, no questions asked. Okay, we didn't do what we read this week. Do we want to do that first, super fast?
Yes, and to everybody's surprise, I didn't read that much this week. I
didn't either.
I still read a decent amount. However, I read Stone Cold Queen, which is the second book of a series that I don't even know what I'm reading. Honestly, it's one of those books that I just put on in the background and I'm 50% listening to while I do things because it was free on Audible. So I said, sure, why not? And I needed an audiobook.
Fair.
Then, oh my gosh, I think I read my favorite book for the rest of the year.
Shut up.
Yes, absolutely obsessed. It was probably in my top 3 most anticipated reads of the entire year, if not, tied with number 1 with Play Along by Liz Tom Ford.
Can I guess what it is?
Yeah.
Is it the Dixon Rule?
It's the Dixon Rule!
You liked it?
I loved it.
Okay, I was so curious to ask you because I bought it the other day because I was at Barnes & Noble. And I just when I was looking at it, I was like, this is a thick book. This is a very big romance book. And I'm like, we all know how we feel about bigger romance books. I'm not a big fan.
Yes. Well, it's kind of funny that you say that too because Elle Kennedy obviously wrote the Off Campus and the Briar Youth series. And those are shorter books.
Yeah, they're pretty short.
350 pages maybe. And then the Campus Diaries series, which is the second gen series, has the Graham Effect and the Dixon Rule. And I think they're, 450, 500 pages.
Yeah, they're both thick.
Something. However, there is crack cocaine in that book because I love Off Campus. I truly do. But I am obsessed. What I almost said critically, all the words, obsessed with the Campus Diaries series. The Graham Effect was one of my favorite reads last year, I think is when it came out. The Dixon Rule, obsessed. I don't know what it is. Anyways.
Wait, that's awesome. I love that.
Dixon Rule. And then lastly, I read Powerful. Obviously.
Nice. Wow, you really did have a lighter read week.
I know.
I had the same thing too. Well, for some reason, like I said this last episode, I'm still trying to read Hunger Games.
Love.
I literally, for some reason, it's pulling teeth, and I was like, why am I trying to force myself to read this book? So I finally just put it down, and I was like, I will come back to this at some point.
Yeah.
So I haven't DNF'd it. I will read it. I just was not vibing with it for some reason, so I took a break.
Well, I feel like sometimes it's hard to read books of movies you've already seen because you know how it goes.
Yes, I think that's what's happening, and I'm like, I already know what happens for the most part.
Yeah.
But anyways, so I was partially reading Hunger Games. I've been listening to Daughter of No Worlds because I read the first book last year, but I was re-listening to it so that I could keep reading the series. So I have like 30 minutes left of the audiobook.
Oh.
I'm like almost done. And then I started Fireborn.
Oh my gosh, I love Fireborn.
I'm like only like 50 pages in, but I was like, I like picked that up after I was like, I cannot do Hunger Games, and I was like, wow, this is nice. I can actually like, I read the first 50 pages and it wasn't feeling like I was pulling teeth. So
I will say, when I first picked up Fireborn, I think it's more of a elaborate writing style, and that kind of threw me because I prefer, you know, the first person kind of voicey writing style.
Yeah.
So that took a minute to get adjusted to, but once I got adjusted, loved it.
Yeah. Anyways, that's all I read this week. I'm hoping though, I'm gonna be out of town, like I said, like all of next week, and literally all I'm going to be doing is laying out at the pool. So I'm hoping that I crank out some good books next week.
Yeah.
We have potential. So anyways, well, nice. Any other things?
No.
All right.
Not for that.
All right, let's jump into Powerful. Also, this is going to be a spoiler warning for Powerless and for Powerful. If you have not read both of those books and you are planning on reading them, jump off and come back when you have finished. Also, you can watch our episode where we talk about Powerless if you would like to as well.
Yes.
But yeah, this is your spoiler warning. Let's jump into it. First off, what's your thoughts?
Overall thoughts, this sounds bad, but I think I was a little underwhelmed because, I mean, going into it, I knew I didn't have as big of an attachment to Adina as some other people. I really, really enjoy Peyton, and I think that's just because the books that I like, I have a tendency to prefer the more stabby FMCs.
Yeah.
And Adina's obviously the opposite. She reiterates the whole book over and over again. She's like, I'm a lover, I'm not a fighter.
Yeah. He like tries a teacher and he's like, you're hopeless, never mind.
Which I thought was very funny, and I love having those characters as a secondary character because I think they balance the stabby FMC a lot. So I knew I wasn't super attached. So I went in. I would say the book for me was maybe 3.25 stars.
I ranked it 5 stars.
Ah! No, you didn't. Okay.
Here's the thing, is that like you said, I wasn't attached to Adina. Okay, but also, to be fair, let's put this into perspective. I would say it's a 5-star for a novella. Like, I am not comparing it to, like, other books, things like that. But for what it was, I felt like it was very, very good. I didn't feel like it dragged on too long. I felt like it was super short and sweet and also made me uncontrollably sob.
See, I saw your TikTok and you had messaged me or texted me and said that you were sobbing during it. So I was mentally prepared to have my heart shattered.
Oh.
And I finished it. I didn't even get the urge to cry. I don't know what it was.
I feel like, though, if you're going into a book being like, oh, it's super sad, I'm going to cry, I feel like you don't cry. So that's my bad. I shouldn't have said anything. I should have just let you enjoy the ride.
It was all over TikTok, too. People sobbing at the end. And I knew how it was going to end. Yeah. And I think for me, that also helped mitigate tears.
Yes.
Because I had an idea of how it was going to go, obviously, from reading Powerless.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
I don't know. Okay, first off, though, I will say that I do feel like their relationship, I don't know what is in her writing, what crack cocaine she has, but she is so freaking good at building tension between two characters right off the bat. Because I feel like from the beginning, I was like, oh, like, and I don't even know who these characters really are at this point. And I was like, wow, the tension is high.
Interesting, because...
Did you not think so?
No, I agree with that. I think Lauren Roberts is one of my favorite authors of all time, but especially in the YA category, because I think she does such a wonderful job of creating tension and making you interested in a romance where physically not that much is going to be happening.
Yeah.
However, I did not connect to Adina and Makoto. Is that what you were calling him?
Yeah, Mac.
Yeah, Mac. As much as I did Kai and Peyton, which makes sense because Powerless was a full-blown book. This is a novella, things like that. But I think I had elevated the banter of Powerless to like a godlike status because I'm so obsessed that when I got to this, there was lines I would read and say objectively that's really good writing, but for some reason I wasn't quite connecting to it.
It just sounds
much.
like you more just like emotionally, you just were not attached to this book at all.
No,
See,
I
and
wasn't.
I felt like I had the opposite like thought of like I feel like I was very emotionally attached to it like from the get-go, and I feel like she did a really good job at like drawing me in. So I mean, I think this is the first time that we've probably had like very differing opinions on a book.
Yeah, and overall I still did really enjoy it.
Yeah.
One thing that I really, really enjoyed, because I'll preface this with the first 150 pages of this book to me were meh.
Fair.
Which it's 220 pages or something like that.
Yeah.
So that's like over 50% of the book.
Yeah.
But I really loved seeing some of our characters from Powerless from a different perspective.
Yes.
Obviously, the main one being Kit.
Yes.
Because we see Adina's interactions
I had
with
this
Kit,
written
and we had theorized in our Powerless episode, we knew Kit was going to be evil.
Yeah, he's gonna be the next
So
villain.
finally seeing an interaction where he's not putting on that facade, I like threw the book and I was like, I freaking knew it.
Well, and then she says because she meets both Kit and Kai at different times, and
Yes.
she meets Kit first. I can't remember what happens in the interaction, but then she meets Kai, and she's
Mhm.
like, I know which brother I'm rooting for, and I was like,
Yes.
oh, we just know Kai's just the better person in this situation.
Yeah, well, when she runs into Kit, I can't remember exactly what their interaction is. I believe it starts with like, who are you? And she says, oh, I'm the seamstress for Peyton, blah, blah, blah.
Oh,
But the way it ends is he's like, Adina, I believe we'll be meeting again or something like that.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's so ominous. I know he's going to be the one to kidnap her. Oh,
oh my gosh, that literally is. Yeah, I had that written down too of just like thoughts on like her interactions with Kit and Kai, because it's just like so interesting to me that she would. I mean, obviously that was intentional of her like getting
Yeah.
perspectives of Kit and Kai, and it's just so interesting to me where it's like obvious that Kai is the more like desired person for many people. Like it isn't just Peyton that's like drawn to him like physically or anything like that.
mhm.
But it's just like everyone like gets better vibes from Kai, which is hilarious because he's supposed to be the like enforcer person, and it's like he's supposed to be the bad guy, yet it seems like people would rather be around Kai than they would around Kit.
Yeah, it's almost like for Kai, instead of letting the role of enforcer break him and make him heartless,
Yeah.
he almost has made him more compassionate because he's had to do all these
Yes.
things. So he's become more understanding of people's situations and knows that he's trying to set these people free and
Yes.
so on and so forth. So I did like that she ran into both of them and we got to see Adina's, internal monologue of both the characters, because we didn't
Yes.
really get to see that in Powerless.
Yeah,
So
I agree.
I did
also,
love that.
This is hilarious to me, side note, but because this is obviously a novella of Adina, and I just like that we were so confident in her being live, and I was still like so confident for like half of the book
Kinda
that she
same.
was gonna be live.
I thought at the end there was going to be like a, internal, almost like there's that one like page that was a paragraph from Adina right
Yeah.
before she died.
Yeah,
I thought maybe she was going to make it out somehow and be
I
like,
thought
and then
so
I saw
too.
the light or something.
I thought so too. I thought Mac was gonna do something. Nope, we got nothing, and I was like, you're kidding.
I will say, I was pleasantly surprised with Mac for the last 70 pages. The first 150 pages, I was impartial to him.
Wait, this is hilarious because one of my questions I wanted to ask was, did you like Mac? So share your thoughts.
Okay, first 150 pages, I could not decide what his personality type was.
That's fair.
Because I feel like we often put these characters in these categories of like morally gray, arrogant playboy, golden retriever, like,
Yeah.
and I don't know what he was, because he would joke, but then he also was very stoic at the same time.
Yeah.
But instead of it feeling like he was using humor as a way to cope with things, it just felt very separated,
Yeah.
and I was so confused. But then once he got into the castle after Era died,
Yeah.
then I started to really like him,
Mm-hmm.
because I feel like he singled in on his focus of like, yes, I like Adina, I want to be with Adina, and he was
Yeah.
a lot more playful, and we were getting a lot more emotions from him.
Yeah.
But I felt so bad for him, because I'm like, this man is going through the ringer, because I think the
Yes.
timeline is like days or
yes, it's like literally like a week or something. Maybe don't quote me on that.
No, before they go to the castle, I think it's like 5 days or something. It's less than a week.
Yeah.
Where they know each other. And then obviously the trials are a little bit more spaced apart.
Yeah.
But I'm like, this man just lost Era and then literally turns around. They share one kiss, him and Adina. And then she literally dies in front of him.
That is the one thing I didn't like, was I was like, really? You're only going to give them a kiss? I was kind of annoyed. I was like, we obviously know where she's going. We obviously know like what's about to happen, and you're going to only give them a kiss? I was like so unsatisfied by that part. Anyways.
Me too. I will say, I really did like, I love the name Makoto. So I like refuse to call him Mac because I'm like, oh, Makoto is such a good name.
That's a good name.
I love Mac, and I want to see him in Reckless.
Yes.
I'm thinking the way that him and Peyton are gonna be able to connect, because Peyton doesn't know who he is.
Yeah.
She's never heard of him because Adina never shared. Is he obviously has Peyton's vest in black.
Yeah.
And she has it in green. So I think they're obviously gonna interact at some point, and she's gonna be like, I recognize the vest. How did you know Adina? And he'll be like, I was in love with her.
Yeah, I think that he's gonna be like, actually, I think it's more of him. He's gonna probably seek Peyton out. And then Peyton's gonna be like, who the frick are you? Get away from me. And he's like, no. And uses the vest as like proof of like, see. And oh my gosh, I literally, the fact that she wrote the see you in the sky, that's what got me sobbing. Was like that single line. And I was just like, and then the fact that she sewed it into his jacket, unwell. So unwell.
Literally, I think Lauren Roberts is such an evil genius because she kept, I know she did it on purpose. She kept referring to when Adina would have interactions with people, they would always talk about the future, which is just so much more heartbreaking because we know she's gonna die. So like she has an interaction with Makoto, and he's like, I'll be here with you as long as you'll have me. And she's like, oh, I'll keep you as long as, I'm like, you're only gonna have him for a couple more days.
I know.
And then they're sitting in the fort, and she's staring up at the stars. And he's like, oh, I bet the stars are envious of you. And she's like, what are you even talking about? And he's like, because far from now, you're going to outshine every single one of them. I'm like, far from now? You mean she's going to be dead
so
here?
I think that was the part that I started getting like teary-eyed, because I was like, this is so sad to like know like what's about to happen.
Oh, yeah.
Anytime that death is involved in a book, I usually like will cry just because it's emotional and it's sad. But then it was like we took it to a whole other level, like giving all this foreshadowing and stuff. I was like, I'm unwell.
Literally. And the one thing that frustrated me so much, but I think was very well done, is she goes to Peyton and she's about to spill about Makoto and their relationship. Yeah. And then Peyton's like, oh, can you fill me in after the trial?
Yes.
I need to focus on this. And I'm like, she's not going to be there.
That's so annoying. I do agree where I was like, Peyton, why are you blowing off your friend?
I know. And then Adina is so worried about Peyton and says, promise you'll make it back to me. And she's like, oh, I promise. And they're not even thinking that Adina is going to be in danger, which just breaks my heart even more because,
Anyways. Oh, but I was going to say though too, oh, frick. What was I going to say? It's gone. Oh, another thing that I didn't like either was that, like, in the trials, like, when Mac is watching and we, like, get his perspective, I, like, so badly was, like, give me America Singer running into the stadium, like, trying to save Marley. No, Mac stood there and watched, and I was like, why are we not trying to do something?
I was so frustrated at the end because it felt like it ended really abruptly, and I would have loved an additional 4 chapters, even like 2 chapters of the chaos breaking out in the stadium and him watching Peyton run away, and maybe he sees Peyton kill the king and follows after her or something, because I want to know what his role was during that chaos. And they just ended it. It's like,
no, I agree. Dead. I wanted, like, at least, like, even, like, because at the end of Powerless, we get, like, a chapter of, like, Peyton, like, running away. Like, we know where she's going. And I feel like with Mac, all we got was him, like, in the stadium, and that's where we left him. And I'm like, so where is he going now? What is he doing? Is he going home? Is he, like, what is he doing in this moment? And I agreed. I didn't like that. Like, even just one chapter of saying, Mac got up, got out of the stadium, saw Peyton, and followed her. I don't know, but I was like, why couldn't we give at least some sort of,
just give
interest?
us, like a direction, like a follow-up of, chaos is ringing out around me. I'm so heartbroken. It's all white noise to me.
Yeah.
All I'm seeking now is retribution, and I only know one silver-haired savior that can help me do it. And so you're like, okay, his direction is he's going to find Peyton.
Yes.
So we know he's going to be in Reckless, but I don't remember what his last lines were, but it was something like so abrupt.
Yeah,
or
I
it was
remember.
like
It was abrupt though.
It was see you in the sky, and thanks for being the closest one because the brightest star, right?
All he says was he's counting down in his head, and then the last lines are, thanks for picking the closest star, Dina. I take a shaky breath, 40, 41, 42. It looks like you'll be around to keep me company. And that's it.
Yeah, I'm like, no, we just had a major action sequence. We need something more than that. I think that's a great way to end a chapter, but I wish it wasn't the way they ended the book.
Because then immediately after, it's the paragraph from Medina, and then that's the end.
Mm-hmm.
So then you get the bonus chapters from Reckless. The one thing I will say is the way that it ended makes me feel like Mac is going to come into the picture very early on into Reckless. Like, I think that him and Peyton are going to meet up very early on in the book, because I'm like, you just left him basically doing nothing.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you obviously need to have that resolution sooner rather than later. So I'm like, I feel like they'll at least meet in the first few chapters of Reckless in my head. That's my prediction.
No, I think so too, because I don't think Makoto's gonna get his own perspective.
No.
In Reckless, I think it's gonna be Kai and Peyton, and maybe a chapter thrown in, with Kit's perspective.
Yeah.
So if he's gonna be involved, he needs to be close to one of those people.
No, I agree.
Which most likely it's going to be Peyton, and that would make sense because, you get the duality of, he's a wielder and Kai's a wielder.
Yes.
So then they almost get a wielder on the rebel side.
Why did I literally forget what Mac's powers were? I forgot about this.
Yeah, well, I was really pleasantly surprised with that too, because I remember thinking to myself when he was a phaser.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, she had Adina and Mac have the same power. That's a really interesting choice, because I feel like you wouldn't do that.
Yes.
So then when he revealed he was a wielder, I was like, yes, thank you. That is what I'm looking for. It makes a lot of sense going into Reckless that, the rebel movement would have. Is that what they called themselves?
I don't remember what they called
whatever their names were.
No, I totally agree. I think that him being a wielder is going to be a really interesting take on it. My question is do you think that anything will ever transpire between Mac and Peyton if they do end up meeting up and having to fight together and do stuff together?
You mean romantically?
Yeah. Because remember last time you talked about it and you were like, what if there's a boy in a part of the rebels that Peyton ends up falling for instead, or there's a third a triangle, or at this point a square if we include Kit, and then you know what I mean? You had made that theory. Do you think that if that theory does come to fruition, it would be Mac?
Yes and no, because that would make the most sense now that we've had a whole book dedicated to Makoto, that we know him a lot more, so that relationship would be a lot more valuable than just a stranger.
Yeah.
And then if you brought in a stranger, now you have Kit, Kai, Makoto, and it just feels like too much.
Yes.
But what I think would actually happen is that her and Makoto would get really close together, almost like a Juliet and Kenji situation from Shatter Me.
Yeah.
Almost because they're sharing this bond over Adina. Yeah. So more, brother-sister relationship. But from the outside, Kai looking in, I'm sure he's going to assume there's something romantic happening.
No, that's so true. I could also see Mac totally being this person, because in Powerless, we see that Peyton just is very independent, and she's like, I will do this myself. I have my secrets. I'm not going to tell anyone. I'm going to figure out how to do this myself. And I feel like if Mac comes into the picture, he's going to play a big brother role of what do you think you are doing trying to do that by yourself, you idiot? You know what I mean? He's going to be a lot more of like a big brother and like and be like, Peyton, you're not doing this alone, stupid. Like, Adina will kill me if I don't help you. You know what I mean? Like, so I think that he'll kind of get like that. Like, I feel like that will be more their relationship, but
yeah, he'll almost be like her new Adina in that, you know, platonic relationship aspect.
Yeah.
But I do think it's going to make Kai really jealous.
Yeah.
However, I just thought about this and I have no theories for it. So I'm interested to see if you do.
Okay.
We know Makoto has a silver stripe of hair.
Oh, yes.
Peyton also has silver hair.
Yes.
What does that mean? That can't be a coincidence.
Okay, this is hilarious because I literally just saw a clip on TikTok because she's been doing like a book tour and stuff. So people have been posting like clips from like her Q&A sessions and stuff.
Yes, I've
and
seen
someone
those.
in the Q&A session asked her about that. And what she said in the video was that she didn't intentionally do it to like say that it meant anything. She just did it because she was like, for Adina, it was a part of Peyton that she would get, is like what she said. I don't know if I fully believe her because if it did mean something, she wouldn't be able to say. But but that's what she said, is that the only reason why she did it was because it was for Adina to be like, oh, it's like my little piece of Peyton with him. You know what I mean?
Yeah, which makes a lot of sense. And I was thinking it was probably going to be more that way too. But it would also make sense that as much as I want Peyton to stay powerless, I don't think she is.
I don't think she is either, but I really want her to be.
Yeah, I think she's going to have one of those, like, maybe it's a fatal power. Maybe it's a fatal power we've never heard of.
Yeah.
You know? Like, we have mute, so it's not that she can mute magic, but maybe she can, you know, shield against it. Maybe, I don't know. I think she's going to have something. And so I thought maybe the silver stripe of hair would mean, you know, Makoto would have that same something.
Yeah.
Of the sorts.
Yeah.
But I'm interested to see what powers I think she's actually going to have. Because there's no way.
What they would be. But yeah, I agree. I don't know if the silver hair in his hair means anything, but I would be interested to see what her silver hair means.
Maybe she's like like an amplifier? I don't know. Where it's like she herself doesn't have magic, but the person she's next to, like, you know,
amplifies it. That would be interesting.
Something like that.
Also,
you know?
something that was super interesting. Remember how last time we were talking about how it was just super unclear of like how many people were like of these powers and like things like that. Yeah. It was I was laughing because I was like at the beginning of the book.
I saw this.
It like has like a list of like how many people are of what. And I was laughing because I was like, oh, we truly are very small in population around here because it's like 100 amplifier. Oh, amplifier's already it.
Oh, never mind.
And like 200 bluff, but it's like controller, manipulate others 1, mind reader 1, silencer abilities of others 1, and wielder 1 is what it says. No one recorded, but yeah. So I'm like, I thought it was really funny that I was like, oh, the numbers are here now, and also this is the tiniest little kingdom I've ever heard of in my entire life.
I know. I didn't even look at the numbers. I was just reading through the powers because I'm like, there's got to be stuff that I don't know.
Oh, yeah. There's a lot, actually.
But, yeah, I do know they, with the fatals, they usually keep one for the kingdom and try and kill everybody else.
Yeah,
but
that's
also,
true.
I don't know how that would logistically work because, obviously, if there's one silencer recorded, we know at the beginning of Powerless, Peyton kills a silencer.
Yes.
Do you just wait for another baby to pop up and wait for them to be a full-grown man?
Like, I don't know.
Or man or woman, and you're like, oh, for 30 years, you know, we don't, or I guess they're teenagers, so maybe for 15 years we don't have anybody with that power, because that feels like a flaw in the system.
Well, that wasn't, so they already have a silencer for the kingdom.
Yeah.
They already had one, and then she killed, so there's still one left over.
Yeah.
But yeah, I understand what you're saying, though.
If that silencer were to die, you'd be like, well, we're in a real pickle here.
You're like,
you know,
no more
maybe we should keep
for
like
us.
5 on hand.
But maybe it's not like a genetic thing, because if you think about it, like the king and queen have different powers, and then Kai is a wielder.
Maybe it's like a roulette wheel, and it's like you're just born with something.
Unless you're ordinary.
Yeah.
Interesting. Do you have any other thoughts? I feel like that was kind of all my thoughts about the book.
Let me triple check. But the last thought is it's my understanding, right? Kai doesn't know Kit is the one that set Adina up to die.
No, wait, do we know that it's Kit?
Well, in Powerful, she's like, why am I here? Or like, where are you taking me? And the guy says like, oh, King's orders.
Yeah, he's not the king yet, though.
True. Anyways, I think it's Kit. Kit.
That would be super interesting. Kit this entire time was the mastermind behind all of the challenges. Imagine.
Yeah, well, I didn't even think that far, but I'm so on board with that. That was a great idea.
Why are we building up Kit to be the worst villain ever? We're like, he's the worst.
I totally spaced that there was a real life king.
Yes.
So I guess that makes sense. So that wasn't confirmation, but he did have that interaction with Adina where he's like, we'll see each other again.
Yes, that's true.
So if not, if he's not the mastermind behind it, I think he's definitely in on it, and they're purposely leaving Kai out of the loop, which I think is going to be one of the game changers in Reckless, because, you know, if Kai finds out, I think all will be forgiven with Peyton, and he'll turn on Kit.
Well, I think so too, and also I think it's just interesting because, I feel like in Powerless, Kai always says like Kit has no idea how like our father was to me. Like Kit's kind of like oblivious to all of it, but I truly think that he's not that oblivious, and I think that he knows more. He's just really good at acting and putting on a different facade. So I'm intrigued to see in Reckless it start to crumble away and realize that like he was never oblivious. You know what I mean?
I think Kai and Kit's relationship is gonna greatly deteriorate.
Yep.
There we go.
Word.
We got it. But yeah, I don't think they're gonna be on good footing by the end, and
Definitely
may take the entire book, and that will be the setup for the third book. Is that relationship has been severed, and he's going after Peyton.
Yeah.
But also, it's a forced proximity situation. Lauren Roberts keeps reiterating between Kai and Peyton.
My final theory is that by the end of Reckless, we will have Kai and Kit essentially like split off from each other.
Agreed.
He's gonna basically send Kai to the desert.
Oh, like the Scorches.
The Scorches. I know this is kind of part of your theory. And then he's gonna keep Peyton and force her into marriage like you had said last time. So now it's gonna be like a flip situation of like Kai is sent out and forced away and abandoned. What's the word I'm looking for? Banished, thank you. And Peyton is forced to stay with Kit and in like a forced marriage or something like that.
That would be really interesting.
That's how the second book would end.
What I truly hope to see, either in Reckless or the book after, is I want to see Kai and Makoto become really close, because
that would be awesome.
You know, ingrained in them that, you know, Makoto's power is a threat to Kai because he can be the only one wielder. But we obviously know Kai doesn't have that personality. Just because somebody's a wielder, he's not going to kill them. So seeing two wielders like tandem fight together, I think would be incredible.
I think it'd be incredible to see Kai like teach Mac too, like have like a Dorian and Rowan
like
moment.
A training arc?
Yes.
Oh, so good.
I love it. Okay, well, any other thoughts?
No, that's everything.
All right, that was fun. It was just a fun little book, and I'm so excited for Reckless. I just need to know.
Same.
Anyways, thank you guys so much for listening to this week's episode. Make sure that you follow us on all of our social media. It's just at LA Reads Podcast. And also, you can email us if you have any brand deals or anything like that.
Yes, we're always open to
open to those types of things. Anyways, thank you guys so much for listening, and we will see you all next week. Bye!